Hi, this is Matt from GravityWiz. If you've ever used the All Fields merge tag in Gravity Forms, you'll know it's incredibly useful. One merge tag, and you can get all your form data in notifications and confirmations. But you'll also know it's not particularly pretty. You're stuck with this default styling with no control over what's included or how it looks. That's where our free All Fields template plugin comes in. It lets you take complete control of the output, and that's what I'm going to show you today. By the end of this video, you'll know how to create your own custom template that makes your notifications look exactly how you want. Before we dive in, we need to make sure the All Fields template plugin is installed and activated. You can get it for free through Spellbook. Now that's done, before we get into templates, I want to quickly mention the special modifiers that are included with the All Fields template plugin. You can do simple customizations just by adding these modifiers to the merge tag itself. In my notification, I'm currently using the All Fields merge tag with no modifiers. That's outputting all the fields from the form. If I want to exclude some fields, I can use the exclude modifier. For example, all fields exclude 3, 4. This will hide fields 3 and 4. In our case, that's the email and phone fields. Let's submit the form again and see what it looks like this time. You can see this time the email and phone field has been excluded from the All Fields merge tag. We also have this referral source field, which is a hidden field on the form. We don't really want our users to see this. Luckily, we can remove hidden fields from the output using the No Hidden modifier. Let's submit the form again and see what happens this time. You'll see this time the hidden field has been excluded from the output. You can combine the modifiers too. For example, all fields, no hidden, exclude 3, 4. Let's save the form, submit it again, and see what happens this time. You'll see this time our email and phone fields have been excluded, as has the hidden field. These modifiers are great for quick filtering. There are a few more modifiers that you can use too, which are explained in the documentation linked below. But if you want to actually change the look, the styling, and the layout of this merge tag, you'll need a template. So let's dive into that. This is our WordPress file structure. We're going to need to navigate to our active theme under WP Content, Themes. In my case, I'm using the 2025 theme. Inside your active themes folder, you need to create a new folder called Gravity Forms. That's gravity-forms, all in lowercase. Inside that folder, create a new file called all-fields.php. So the full file path looks like WP Content, Themes, your theme, Gravity Forms, allfields.php. Once this file exists, the plugin automatically uses it. The default Gravity Forms output gets replaced with whatever we put here. Let's start with the simplest possible template. Now, if you've never written PHP before, don't panic. Let me break down what's happening here. This line here says, for each item in my form submission, do the following. This will loop through every field that has a value, one at a time. Inside the loop, we have the item label. That's a field's label like your name or email address. We also have access to the item value. That's whatever the user actually entered. Everything else is just HTML. In this case, we're creating an unordered list. Each field becomes a list item, with the label in bold and the value below it. I'm going to go back to my notification and remove the modifiers from the All Fields merge tag. Now let's see what this template looks like. I'll submit our workshop form again. You'll now see that the confirmation is showing every field value in an unordered list, with the field label in bold and the value below. This is a very simple example, but we now have complete control over the All Fields merge tag. Whatever HTML we put in that template is what appears in our notification. Now let's make this look a little better by adjusting the template. For this template, I've switched from a list to a table. Tables are more reliable for email layout. Since this merge tag is going into emails, we also need to use inline styles, as email clients don't reliably support external style sheets. You can see I've added inline styles for each of my elements. Things like font family, font size, padding, colour. Let's see how this one looks when we submit the form again. That's already looking much more professional. You can customize this template however you like. Change the colours to match your brand, adjust the padding, add a background colour. It's just HTML and CSS. There's something else really useful that we can do with this template. Our form has section fields, attendee details, and workshop selection. Currently these display as standard fields in the template. It would be nice to make these stand out as headers. We can do that by checking what type of field we're dealing with. Here's a new template that builds on the last one that does exactly that. This line here is checking to see whether the field type is section. We then use an if-else statement to output different HTML depending on whether the field is or isn't a section. If the field is a section, we'll output this HTML with slightly different styling to if it isn't a section. Let's submit the form again and see how it looks this time. Now our sections appear as proper headers with different styling, making them stand out from the regular fields. This same technique works for any field type. You could style paragraph fields differently, highlight required fields, whatever you need. What we've seen so far will apply to any form using the All Fields merge tag. But what if you have multiple forms and want different templates for each? Well, that's easy. All you need to do is add the form ID to your file name. In our case, our form ID is 8. So going back to our file, we can just rename it, and after all fields we put -8. So it now says all-fields-8. This template will now only get used for this specific form. If you have a main all-fields.php file, this will remain the default for everything else. Or, if you want to use a standard all fields output for your other forms, you can just delete the main template file and have the form specific one like we have here. You can also use a template across different forms by naming the template. In this case, we can rename the file and name our template workshop. So we now have all-fields-workshop.php. Going back to our notification, we can now use the template modifier with the template name between the square brackets. This will now use that file that we've called workshop. As mentioned, this is really useful if you want to use the same template across multiple forms. And that's it for today. If you have any questions about using the All Fields template plugin, please reach out to support, where one of our support wizards will be more than happy to help.